In the name of our Creator, our Redeemer, and our Sustainer. Amen. Welcome to the seventh Sunday of Pentecost, a season in which we take the loving and life-giving and liberating way of Jesus on the road. It's a season in which we practice walking the walk, talking the talk with Jesus. And over the past several weeks, we've explored some of the rules of the road in journeying with Jesus. And today, we are invited to explore what Jesus has to say about money and possessions. Can money be a tool for building up the kingdom? Or is it a barrier? Or both? What do today's readings reveal to us about the use of wealth, and what does it mean to have a right relationship with wealth? For 8 years, I served as a director of stewardship for the Episcopal Church on the staff of presiding Bishop Catherine Jefferts Shorey. And my ministry was to help teach dioceses and congregations about the theology of stewardship and share best practices in helping congregations carry out their annual pledge campaign, what most churches refer to as their stewardship campaign. And I have to say, it never really made sense to me that congregations would call their giving campaign a stewardship campaign, because as most of you know, stewardship is not limited just to money and the fall pledge drive. Rather, stewardship is about identity and call and purpose. We remember the opening verses of Genesis. God makes human in God's image and calls us to be stewards of all creation and blesses us to bless others. Made in God's image, we are part and parcel of the created order, and we're given a privileged role to play as God's stewards. We are to tend, care, and nurture all that has been given. Stewards are not owners. Stewards are caretakers, householders, managers who recognize God as the source of all blessing. Stewards put their ultimate trust in a loving and life-giving and liberating God. So today's gospel gives us some insight of what not to do, how not to be a steward. Let's look at where this foolish farmer went wrong. We hear in today's gospel that a rich landowner receives a bumper crop and does not have enough storage to keep his abundant harvest. So he decides to tear down his barn and build bigger ones to store up his crops and sit back and enjoy the excess. Now, on the face of it, there is nothing wrong with storing up surplus. After all, this is exactly what young Joseph advises the Pharaoh to do to get through the lean years of famine, so all will have enough. Saving up for a rainy day. Planning. Isn't that what we are all taught at a young age about healthy money habits? The farmer, however, takes several wrong turns. Number one, he does not recognize the hand of God in his good fortune. He does not recognize that what comes from the land is a blessing from God. There is simply no gratitude of this gift from God. Number two, the notion of sharing his bounty does not enter his mind. In fact, the farmer's consistent focus throughout the conversation is with himself and about himself. What should I do? For I have no place to store my crops. I will do this. I will pull down my barns and build larger ones, and I will store my grain and my goods, and I will say to my soul. Clearly, this farmer was not part of a co-op. The relentless use of the first-person pronouns, I and my, betray this preoccupation with self. The farmer has fallen prey to worshiping the most popular of gods, the unholy trinity of me, myself, and I. And this leads to this existential problem of life itself. He's not foolish because he makes provisions for the future. He's foolish because he believes by his wealth he can secure his future. Soul, you have ample goods laid up for many years. Eat, relax, eat, drink, and be merry. Yet it is that very night that God takes his soul. The farmer was denied the opportunity to see his foolish ways. He did not have the chance to turn around, to celebrate the blessing of God's abundance by sharing it with others. He missed out. His self-absorption kept him isolated and alone, and he could not take his bounty with him. As they say, there is no public storage facilities in heaven. Now at 6:45 p.m. on Friday evening, I rushed out of my house to buy a Mega Million lottery ticket. Now, truth be told, I bought 10. And I was a bit late in the game in learning about this Mega Million jackpot. I didn't watch much of the news last week, and I had heard at 6:45 that this jackpot had reached almost $1.3 billion. So I had about an hour to get to the store, and that was fine. It's just 10 minutes down the road. But I said to myself, why not me? Why? I should have a chance too. I would put this good money to use. Wouldn't it be wonderful to take home $747 million after taxes? How many of us have fantasized about winning the lottery? How many of you played the lottery? Yeah, we're optimists, right? And you often hear people say when they're standing in these long lines to buy their lotto tickets at their favorite liquor store, they're asked by reporters what they'll do with these winnings, and the responses are often very altruistic. I'll ensure my grandchildren's college education is paid for, and I will open up an animal shelter in my community, and I will pay for the education and school supplies and uniforms for orphans in Haiti. And this list of goodwill is inspiring, and this list of goodwill goes on and on. Yet you cannot ignore what is not said. The ease and anxiety this winning would bring. The ease and life this money would bring. Isn't that why we plan and store up so we don't have to worry? I relate to this foolish farmer. With his bumper crop, he no longer had to worry. His wealth could keep anxiety at bay. But we know life is precious and fragile and precarious. Life is fraught with uncertainty and insecurity. And for this very reason, maybe that's why we're tempted to strive for a measure of security and control over the vagaries of life through our own efforts, accomplishments, or even simple, dumb, good luck. Yet it is God who meets us in our vulnerability, in the thick of our anxiety. And it is God's steadfastness that is the ultimate assurance. Can our wealth secure a relative degree of comfort? Absolutely. Can it grant us confidence that we are worthy of love and honor and in right relationship with God and neighbor? No, certainly not. So when we recognize that the gifts of ultimate worth, dignity, meaning, purpose, mission, call, identity, are all gifts freely given by the God whom we are made in God's image. And can we hope to place our relative wealth in perspective? When we see that all of these gifts of ultimate worth are truly gifts, can we place our wealth in perspective? Yes, we can. And we can be generous with others as we are blessed to be a blessing. Jesus tells us to have more confidence in God than in the market. Jesus tells us to eat, drink, and be merry, for today, tomorrow, and eternity, we have God's assured blessing. And that is something to celebrate and is worthy of our praise and thanksgiving. Amen.